Hey everybody, Hunter Brown here. I wanted to take this time to send out a quick video on a very popular subject in golf right now. First of all, I apologize for the look here. As you can see, I'm in full social distancing mode. I haven't shaved in a couple days and kind of wearing some street clothes. But I did want to send out this video because it's something that I see quite a bit of, and I think it's a super important subject for all of us to understand better. So what is that subject? Well, it's the lead wrist, and I'm going to call this to flex or not to flex, right? So the lead wrist, the two parts I'm going to talk about today, moves in basically these two motions. So the lead wrist either flexes in the golf swing, or it extends in the golf swing. Some people might call that bow, cup, whatever you want to call it. And I see a lot of people, myself included, teaching students to go to the top and really flex this lead wrist. So what does that do to the club? That's what's really important, right? So it closes the club face, number one. And generally speaking, most of the golfers we see, I see as a coach and other coaches see, they don't have control of this club face well enough. So it's pretty logical to think, all right, well, why don't we just go ahead and close it more at the top, and that should help us square the face. In some cases, that's correct. But I do think we need to understand exactly what that does. So John Sinclair has put out an incredible video about wrist conditions and what the arms are doing in the swing. Go check it on his website. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of really good information in there. But one of the key things that I picked out was exactly on this subject. So in his database, he has over 100 tour pros in there that he's measured. I believe it's something like, and don't quote me exactly on these numbers, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but somewhere in the range of 3/4 of tour pros, like 75% or so, are actually extended in the lead wrist or cupped in the lead wrist at the top. So hopefully you can see that. So 3/4 of tour pros are extended in the top, yet we're teaching a lot of people, and I see a ton of videos where we're getting this thing flexed. That's a curious why there. I believe 1/5 of those players, about 20% or so, are considered, by his definition, flat left wrist at the top. And I believe that's plus or minus 5 degrees. So just a little bit of flexion or a little bit of extension at the top. And then I think about 1/20 of those players, or about 5%, are actually flexed at the top. So DJ, Dustin Johnson, John Rahm, Victor Hovland, somebody like that, where that lead wrist, obviously we've seen all these pictures, it's a lot of what people are teaching, is super flexed at the top. A very popular training aid right now, and for good reason, might I say, the exact reason I have one, is this thing called the hanger. And that's a little awareness of the face, and I use this a ton, that's why I have one, so I think it has good uses, but it's teaching us a little more awareness of the club face in the top. And I see a lot of people over-exaggerating this and trying to get to where this lead wrist is considerably flexed at the top. And again, that would only be like 5% of tour pros. Why are we doing that? So I think it's important to understand what happens when we flex the lead wrist to the club head. So obviously it closes it, right? That may be a good goal. So, but also it tends to make swings shorter. When I flex this wrist, I'll go this direction. When I flex this wrist, it tends to make my swing, and a lot of people's swings, shorter. Versus if I cup it, you can see the rotation of the club has obviously changed quite a bit there. And whenever you're making any of these changes, I really want you to understand the consequences that go along with it, right? So if I give somebody a really super flex lead wrist at the top that doesn't have much club head speed, and I'm taking away that club head speed, that may not be a good thing. That may not be worth the change that we think is going to happen to the club face on the way down. The second piece of this is that we know, and this is one of the points that John really hammers home in his video, is that almost all tour players will close or twist this club face in a closed direction in transition. So what am I doing to do that? Well, I'm flexing the lead wrist. So if I go ahead and take a player and tell him to look like DJ at the top, what happens is that's all of his range of motion at the top, and in transition he can't flex it or close the club face anymore, which we obviously know is a very important skill. And I see this a ton. A lot of players at the top will be like this. They'll just extend it on the way down, right? That's a huge issue. That can cause a lot of other things in the golf swing to go wrong and cause way more consistency issues than a nice looking flexed wrist at the top. So I just want everyone to be aware, before you make these changes, understand what's going to happen to this club at the top, and then also understand what might happen in transition. Some would argue, and I can take this argument, that if we have a extended wrist, then there's just one motion on the way down. We just go like that, right? One motion might be easier to learn than, hey, let's flex it all the way, extend it a little bit, flex it a little more on the way down, right? And that's something that you do see in players that are super, super flexed at the top. So keep that in mind. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.